My parents had eagerly awaited the birth of their first grandchild, excusing all of my sister-in-law's selfish behavior. But one day, their patience was abruptly tested. My mom and I stumbled upon an outrageous lie while looking through a notebook my sister-in-law had left behind. My name is Sophie, and I work at an office in Boston. Ever since my older brother got married a few years ago and moved out, I've been living with our parents. My brother David, who is 3 years older than me, shares our family's gentle nature, while his wife Lara is an outspoken beauty. It seemed that David quickly lost control in their relationship after they married. His work trips abroad increased, making him busier and busier. He rarely had time to visit, so we seldom saw him at family gatherings or during New Year celebrations. That's why we were all taken aback when we unexpectedly heard from Lara. "Lara, it's been a while. What's going on?" "Sophie, long time no see. I have some news. I'm pregnant." "What? Congratulations." I quickly told my mom about Lara's pregnancy and handed her the phone. My mom was overjoyed at the prospect of having the grandchild. "Lara, congratulations. If you need anything, please let me know." "Huh? Well, of course that's fine." But even my mom, who was initially ecstatic, ended the call with a hint of confusion. "Mom, what happened?" "Well, Lara wants to stay with us until the baby is born. At our house." It seemed Lara had asked to spend the rest of her pregnancy at our home. Typically, people stay with their own parents during times like this, and my mom thought the same. However, Lara insisted our house was a better option because my brother would feel more comfortable visiting us than her parents. We considered letting her stay at her own place, but with my brother too busy to help with chores, Lara said she wanted to rest and feel secure giving birth at our home. "Do you think she's experiencing severe morning sickness or something?" I asked. "She didn't mention that, but she might be anxious since it's her first childbirth," my mom replied. Lara had been a stay-at-home wife since getting married, so I thought she could relax in her own home without needing to come to ours. However, my mom seemed inclined to let Lara have her way and was planning to accept her. The following week, Lara arrived at our house with just the bare minimum of luggage. "Thanks for having me," she said. As soon as she arrived, she handed me her luggage and asked where her room was. "You can use David's room. We've kept it the same." "David's room is kind of small, isn't it?" Well, I suppose so. And it's on the second floor, right?" "Yes, it's next to my room. It's a bit much to go up and down stairs while pregnant. Your parents' room on the first floor is quite spacious, isn't it?" "Well, it's a room for 2 people, so yes, it is large." "Then I'll take that room. It's convenient since it's close to the entrance. Just switch the stuff in the rooms as you can." Before I could protest, Lara went into my parents' room. "Sophie, make sure to switch the bedding by tonight," she called out. Without waiting for my reply, Lara holed up in my parents' room and didn't come out. Mom, taking Lara's concerns into account, announced that she and Dad would move into my brother's room. 2 of us in his room? It's going to be too cramped. Maybe Lara could compromise, I suggested. But David and Lara's place is a condominium, right? I can understand their unease with the stairs since they're not used to it. If it's only until the baby's born, then why not? Mom replied with a radiant smile, leaving me speechless. Despite this, Lara continued to behave selfishly, disregarding our plans. "Sophie, I want to go shopping. Could you get the car ready?" she demanded. While my parents diligently fulfilled Lara's every request, I grew increasingly frustrated. "Mother-in-law, I feel like something uplifting for dinner tonight. How about meat?" "Father-in-law, I'd like to put away the clothes I bought in the closet. Could you please move your golf bag somewhere else?" "Lara, how are you feeling?" I finally asked. "Fine, I suppose," she replied nonchalantly. "Have you considered trying to do some cooking or helping out with household chores occasionally? Once the baby arrives and you're back home, you'll need to do these things anyway." "Why should I cook for everyone?" she retorted. "Mom seems tired, and I have a busy week at work. I probably won't be able to get home early. Since we're living together, shouldn't we be helping each other out?" "Listen, I'm pregnant, okay? If something happens to the baby because I'm not resting, what are you going to do about it?" Lara snapped. "You say you need to rest, but Lara, you're constantly going shopping and eating out for lunch and dinner. That doesn't seem conducive to your health," I pointed out. "What? I don't want you meddling in my private life." "This is why I dislike having a sister-in-law," she retorted sharply. No matter what I said, Lara brushed it off, continuing to live carefree without lifting a finger to help around the house. When my brother came to check on her and I voiced my concerns, he offered little support, saying, "Right now, Lara and the baby's health are the most important." How long would this continue? Frustrated, I asked Lara about her due date and was surprised to learn it was still half a year away. Half a year, I exclaimed in disbelief. A few days later, with my brother at the dinner table, I couldn't hold back any longer. "Lara, about what I mentioned earlier, I still think it's strange for you to stay here for another 6 months without contributing anything." "Sophie, this again," Lara replied, her expression bored. "Don't you have a boyfriend, Sophie? Are you jealous because I'm happily married with a baby on the way? If you're bitter, why not find a boyfriend and get pregnant yourself?" "That's not what I'm saying. I just feel like you're taking advantage of being pregnant," I retorted. "I need to ensure I have a healthy baby, right? I'm trying to give your parents the joy of spending time with their grandchild since you can't, and yet all I get are complaints from you. It's unpleasant. Don't stress me out. I'm pregnant, remember?" Lara responded defensively. "Are you really thinking about our parents' happiness? If so, consider how hard it is for mom and dad with your selfish behavior. Do you realize how much they're enduring for you?" I pressed on. "I'm going to give birth to the heir of this family, so a little indulgence is acceptable, right? Or are you planning to give birth in my place?" Lara challenged. "Heir? Really?" I scoffed, unable to hide my disbelief. "David is the eldest son, so it's expected," she said calmly. "I see it as my duty as the eldest son's wife." "No, that's not what I'm asking," I interjected firmly. "I want to know if my brother is truly the father of your unborn child." At my words, Lara suddenly became fidgety. "What? Of course he is. What nonsense are you talking about? But if your due date is in 6 months, that means you conceived when?" I trailed off, realization dawning. Mom, who had been listening intently, looked visibly concerned. "Lara, is it true your due date is in 6 months? Have you been deceiving David?" Mom's voice held a mix of worry and disbelief. "Enough. No, you're misunderstanding," Lara snapped defensively. "When I said 6 months, it was just a slip of the tongue," Lara stammered nervously. "Then show us your electronic health record and pregnancy journal," Mom persisted calmly. "You should have printed copies from the hospital, and you always carry your journal, right?" David looked puzzled by our exchange, but sensing Lara's hesitation, he quickly retrieved the pregnancy journal and health record from his bag, handing them over to Mom. "What's going on? Show us the electronic health record. What's the issue here?" David asked, growing concerned. Ignoring Lara's protests, Mom opened the journal, her expression turning grave. Inside was a photo of Lara with an unfamiliar man, and the electronic health record didn't match up. "I understand now," Mom said quietly, her usual warm smile replaced by a serious demeanor. "Mother-in-law, please listen to me," Lara pleaded desperately. "Due dates can be uncertain, right? But one thing is sure, a baby will soon be born into this family. You were excited about becoming a grandmother, weren't you? As a token of my gratitude for letting me stay in your home, I promise you'll have all the time you want to hold the adorable baby." However, Mom, piecing everything together, responded coldly, "Leave our home immediately." "Leave? What about my unborn child?" Lara exclaimed. "Why don't you spend this time at your parents' house? I'm sure it will be less stressful without an interfering mother-in-law or a sister-in-law," Mom retorted, already dialing Lara's parents to explain the situation. "Your father is on his way here." Upon hearing this, Lara panicked. "My father? But why?" As my brother and father looked on with confusion, I carefully explained that based on the due date, my brother had been abroad during the likely conception period, making it impossible for him to be the father. "But if it's not mine, then whose child is it?" David asked, his expression becoming tense as Mom showed him the picture in the journal. "Is it the man in this photo? They look friendly together." "Is this true, Lara? Explain," David demanded, his voice filled with disbelief. "I have no idea what you're talking about. This is a set," Lara denied adamantly, retreating to her room and locking the door. "Lara," David murmured, still processing the shocking revelation. After some time, Lara emerged with a suitcase in hand. "David, we can't talk properly here. Let's go home and discuss this privately, just the two of us." "What do you mean we can't talk here?" Lara snapped, her frustration palpable. "Sophie seems to dislike me, and in the end, your mother is on Sophie's side. You're the only one on my side, David. You mustn't believe what these people are saying." I could see her strategy clearly. She intended to portray us as the villains and sway David's allegiance once they were alone. If I let things continue unchecked, Lara would keep manipulating my brother. Just as I was about to intervene, the doorbell rang. I hurried to answer it, finding Lara's father standing there. He had rushed over after my mother called him. From the moment he arrived, Lara's father's face was flushed with anger. "Lara, what have you done?" he demanded, his voice laced with disappointment and concern. He proceeded to tell us about the night Lara had returned home while my brother was stationed abroad. It coincided with a school reunion in her hometown, and Lara had decided to attend. That night, however, she didn't come back. Her father assumed she was catching up with friends, but the next day he noticed people whispering and looking at him strangely whenever he went out. Is there something going on?" When he finally asked the neighbor, they replied reluctantly, "Your daughter, Lara, she moved away after getting married, right? On the day of the reunion, she was seen leaving early with a man. What could it be?" That morning, Lara returned home. When her father confronted her about it, she flatly denied any wrongdoing. "We were just having a good time, and I ended up separated from the group. Maybe someone mistook the situation," Lara explained casually. "So there's nothing to worry about then, right?" her father asked, hoping for reassurance. "Of course not. I'm already married, Dad," Lara replied confidently. Though uneasy, her father chose to believe her story for the time being. However, it would soon become clear that Lara had been deceiving not only us but her own family as well. "Is it true that you're pregnant? Is the baby from your affair?" It seemed Lara had kept her pregnancy hidden from her parents, possibly out of fear that her affair with a classmate would be exposed. This secrecy was damning evidence of deception. Why would she lie about something so easily discovered? Stunned by her brazen falsehood, I struggled to comprehend as Lara began to justify herself desperately. "Everyone will adore the baby once it's born. Even if they learn about the affair later, if they've already embraced the child, they won't cast me out. Everything would have been fine if Sophie hadn't revealed it." Lara's rationalization struck a nerve. Even my brother, who had been inclined to trust her, seemed to finally grasp the truth after hearing those words. "So you were cheating on me after all," he uttered, his voice filled with disappointment and hurt. "What? No, that's not what I meant, David," Lara stammered, realizing her mistake too late. "What do you mean, not what you meant? Am I part of that everyone you mentioned just now? Don't make a fool out of me." David's voice was filled with a rage I had never heard before from him. "I'm ending this relationship." "No, David, you love children, right? You were thrilled when you found out I was pregnant. Let's raise this baby together." "What? Are you serious? Raise a child when we don't even know who the father is? The real father should be raising this child, not me," David replied firmly, his resolve unwavering. "What? Father-in-law, mother-in-law, Sophie isn't even married yet, right? We don't even know if she can have children. Don't you want to hold your grandchild?" Mom sighed in exasperation. "You must be joking. A child from a stranger has no blood relation to us. We can't consider that grandchild." "But it's your daughter-in-law's child, so isn't it a part of the family even without blood ties?" "David has decided to end the relationship with you, hasn't he? We support his decision to divorce. Sophie, what do you think?" "Absolutely," I affirmed. "But it's not enough. He should demand compensation." "Compensation? That's right. She cheated, had a child, and tried to deceive us into accepting that child as part of our family. How much compensation are we discussing?" At the mention of money, Lara grew apprehensive. I shared the information I had discreetly gathered from a lawyer since my suspicions about Lara's faithfulness had surfaced. "Sophie, thank you for looking into this. I've also been considering legal counsel for what comes next," David stated. He indicated he might pursue compensation based on the information I had provided, but also proposed to Lara that he would reduce the compensation if she agreed to sever ties with our family permanently. Realizing she had little chance of winning, Lara accepted the offer and agreed to the divorce. "Now, please gather your belongings and leave." "Okay, Dad, let's go home," David said, signaling it was time to depart. "You can't come back to our house." "What?" "Rumors about your affair haven't stopped in the neighborhood. We won't allow you to bring more disgrace upon us by returning home pregnant like this. You're no longer welcome here. Go to the man you cheated with." Lara broke into tears and clung to her father, but his resolve remained firm. There was a reason she resisted this decision. It turned out her classmate with whom she cheated was unreliable and struggled to hold down a steady job. Now, Laura had no choice but to rely on him, a man she never envisioned marrying, let alone living with. Despite ending up in his apartment together, his meager part-time income was insufficient for both of them. Until her due date, Laura had to work part-time, managing not only her own chores but also those for her unemployed partner. During the following weeks, David struggled with the shock of betrayal, but with our family's support, he gradually regained his footing. He's grateful that he didn't stay married to someone like Lara and now faces the future with optimism. Following our parents' guidance, David and I enrolled in marriage counseling. We see the experience with Lara as a valuable lesson, and we're committed to thoroughly assessing our future partners before marriage. Our goal is to someday bring the joy of grandchildren to our parents.